Tonight, a military-style operation at a suburban shopping centre. Details live. Also, an innocent man targeted, terrorised, held at gunpoint in a chilling home invasion in Melbourne's southeast. Medibank hackers in a cruel new low. Election promises on IVF cash for women and community solar power batteries. A mum's anger after a toddler's snake scare. Councils under fire over long grass. And a Bombers cult hero set to make a comeback.
Live from Melbourne, 7 News with Peter Mitchell starts now. Good evening. Heavily armed police have swooped on a shopping centre car park in Melbourne's north, arresting 3 people. Estelle Griepink is at Campbellfield this evening. And Estelle, it all stemmed from a firearms incident.
Well, Mitch, this dramatic arrest came just a day after a terrifying home invasion in Keilor. The people in this video, police say, stormed the home yesterday around 1:30 and threatened 2 women with a gun. They're also accused of stealing a Holden Commodore from the property and then fleeing in that car and another car. But police caught up with them just a day later here at Campbellfield Plaza, and the arrest wasn't without incident. In the scuffle, a police car was damaged, and as you can see, one of the offenders was actually bitten by a police dog and received minor injuries. Now, those 3 people are a man, a woman and a 17-year-old boy. Tonight, they're in police custody, assisting investigators with their inquiries. All of this bringing an end to a rather dramatic 24 hours on the run. Mitch?
Estelle Griepink at Campbellfield, thank you. A Melbourne father is living in fear after he was targeted in a chilling home invasion in Melbourne's southeast. Intruders identified him by phone, held a gun at his head and demanded he erase his phone. But police say he has no connections to crime.
Pistol whipped and bashed in his Oakley East home. Father of 1, Frank, is pinned down, his phone stolen.
The only thing I can think of was this is the last... my last minute on earth.
A horrendous attack on Frank.
3 thugs had knocked on his door in Turnbull Avenue. One was the most aggressive and punched him in the face.
He hit me that hard, which sort of put me in a daze.
Then it escalated.
And he pulled out his gun, put it straight to my temple.
In a bizarre chain of events, the men were holding a printed photo of Frank, taken years ago, that he believes was never posted online.
And he said, "That's you, get your phone and delete it, put it back into factory settings." And I said, I can't delete it while you've got a gun in my head. And then all of a sudden, they've started beating me in the face.
The 54-year-old insists he can't explain what might have been on his phone that they wanted gone.
Pretty much no enemies, so I don't know why.
They grabbed the phone and ran. It was then switched off or into airplane mode.
I've made a lot of inquiries and I haven't been able to find it.
It's 6 months to the day since the aggravated burglary. Police didn't reveal information about it at the time, but now, given they have no suspects and have made no arrests, they're hoping for public assistance. Frank has recovered from injuries to his eye, ribs and jaw, but has only just returned to work as a butcher.
Not sleeping through the night, locking myself in the bedroom, wondering if they're watching me coming in and out of the house, always looking over my shoulder.
Paul Dowsley, 7 News.
There's outrage tonight after deeply personal medical details were made public by the Medibank hackers. Cyber experts now predict other criminals will try to use that information.
With a single line, a gross violation. The hackers messaging another file of Medibank customer data was now on the dark web. Intimate details of hundreds of people, including medical procedures for termination of pregnancy.
No person should have to go through this.
Patient advocate Lorraine Long says customers are contacting her, suffering new trauma.
Extremely distraught. They've had terminations. Their spouse doesn't know. They're really worried that that information may come to their home address.
As the Minister for Cybersecurity, but more importantly as a woman, this should not have happened. and I know this is a really difficult time.
Medibank again apologising to customers, saying misuse of their data is deplorable and may discourage them from seeking medical care. The criminals also messaging their ransom, $10 million US, could be discounted to $9.7 million, $1 for every customer impacted, just over $15 million Australian. Other customers fearing what's to come.
Well, I've had a couple of major issues which I've dealt with over the last 12 months, but I wouldn't like that information getting out into the public.
Saying he's now being hit by spam emails.
Criminal scammers all over the place are purporting to be Medibank with advice, and also to the scammers trying to seek money.
The federal government pledging support for the hundreds of people who've now had their private medical information posted online, a number it expects to grow. While Optus has revealed replacing customers' ID documents after its data breach will cost it up to $140 million. Paul Kadak, 7 News.
Victoria's budget deficit has blown out by a staggering $500 million in just the last 10 days. The bad news was revealed as both major leaders battled for the female vote, promising new IVF help.
In 10 days, the state's deficit has grown by $500 million to $10.2 billion. The government says the money has been spent on meeting the immediate needs of flood-affected communities, and $15 million went to Netball Australia.
Obviously, the flood relief has to be there, but flood relief was referred to in the document 10 days ago too.
The State Treasurer, Tim Pallas, maintains we're on track to deliver a surplus of $870 million by 2026.
That is sperm, is it? Yeah. I must say I've never seen it before.
Babies were the focus of the Liberal campaign today.
I'm sure we all know people who have had illness that can affect their reproductive ability.
If elected, Matthew Guy's government will offer 750 women grants of $7,000 for IVF treatment and egg freezing.
It's a program that will last 4 years, cost $21 million. It's responsible. It's reasonable, it's fair.
Last month, the Labor government announced a $13 million package to launch Australia's first IVF service. It will help 5,000 women each year. Labor continued its election campaign focused on electricity and the cost of living, promising to install 100 neighbourhood batteries right across the state.
This is all about making sure that those in a given community, in your neighbourhood who've got solar panels, any energy that they don't need goes into the neighbourhood battery, and then everybody else can draw down on that. 15 batteries would be installed in Metro Melbourne. The $42 million package would benefit 25,000 homes. Chanel Vella, 7 News.
Melbourne hospitals are facing new pressure with ambulance ramping happening again. A code orange was declared overnight and it could be repeated tonight. It means the entire health system is aware there is a reduced number of ambulances available. The union says a jump in COVID case numbers and heightened asthma concerns are potentially driving increased call-outs. Police claim a Port Melbourne real estate agent stole more than $100,000 from her clients. She's accused of using the money to fund her own property portfolio.
47-year-old Kylie Jane Campbell was a real estate agent and company director for BCM Realty when police say money being held in a trust from 5 different clients disappeared.
Go away, thank you.
The prosecutor alleges she used it to bolster her own property portfolio, transferring $100,000 to secure a slice of 600 Lonsdale Street in the city. Her clients were planning to buy apartments in Dandenong, including in Anne and Rod Streets. But 2 of the sales fell through, and when the buyers tried to get their money back, it was gone. In a sentencing indication hearing, Judge Dyer noted she has no prior convictions, saying it may be that there was an opportunity of a lifetime to purchase this development site. There was obviously a state of panic that led to rationality being thrown out the window. Ms Campbell has decided to represent herself and started sobbing when asked to read out evidence on the witness stand, promising to repay the money in full. When asked why it's taken her so long to offer to repay the money, Ms Campbell said she didn't know it was missing, saying it wasn't until she saw official court documents today that she realised it had been taken out of the wrong account.
How did you not know that the money had disappeared? Did your clients not contact you?
Go away.
Why do you think it's none of our business?
Ms Campbell claims she has the money to pay it back. She'll need to prove it by the time court returns tomorrow. Christy Cooper, 7 News.
Infamous wife killer Chris Dawson has faced his daughter as she delivered a heartbreaking message. Chanel Dawson pleaded with the 74-year-old to finally reveal where her mother is buried.
She was 4 years old when her father murdered her mother. Today, Chanel Dawson walked into court to tell Chris Dawson face to face how he destroyed her life too.
There are not enough words in the English language to describe the impact of 41 years of deceit, trauma, being silenced and gaslighted.
Last month, the Supreme Court found 74-year-old Chris Dawson guilty of the murder of wife Lynn in 1982. Today, they heard submissions for his sentencing, also giving rare approval for the family's harrowing victim statements to be made public.
Because of your selfish actions, we will never see her again. We will never hear her tell us she loves us, feel her hold us, or hear her laugh. You took that away and so much more, and you had no right to. You are not God.
Wearing prison greens, Dawson listened as his acts were labelled heart-wrenching, selfish, brutal. Chanel revealed she'd been trying to shield her own daughter from the crimes.
Unfortunately, her friend told her, and I had to explain to my beautiful, innocent daughter why her grandfather killed her grandmother.
With worldwide exposure from the blockbuster podcast The Teacher's Pet, it's been one of the nation's highest-profile cold case murders.
Please tell us where she is.
Lynn's brother Greg Sims backing that plea. They want her found.
We ask you to do the decent thing. Tell us where Lynn is and allow us to bring her home to a peaceful rest, finally giving her the dignity she deserves.
Chris Dawson didn't once look at Lynn's family sitting in the public gallery, but he couldn't avoid the blistering testimony from his own daughter. Chanel took a deep breath and stared him down as she delivered the question so many have asked.
Why didn't you just divorce her? Let those who love and needed her keep her? Because of money? For God's sake.
The prosecution is pushing for life, but his defence argued for a lesser term, saying he has no priors, is no future risk, and has head injuries from his league career.
And he has a problem with his brain. It looks like he's got dementia.
Greg Walsh now standing aside, but confirming an appeal is underway.
I think unless he was successful in his appeal, he'll die in jail.
He has to do his time and then tell us where Lynn is.
The sentence to be handed down December 2nd. Chris Reason, 7 News.
Overseas, the poll result still hangs in the balance, but Donald Trump could be the biggest loser from America's midterm elections. Voters have rejected the former president's hand-picked candidates, and the poll has thrown up a strong Republican challenger if he runs for the White House again.
A spring in his step, but no victory lap for Joe Biden.
While the press and the pundits are predicting a giant red wave, it didn't happen.
His Democrats are holding on, a razor-thin margin keeping Republicans in the game.
Regardless of what the final tally in these elections show, and there's still some counting going on, I'm prepared to work with my Republican colleagues.
And he'll likely have to. Republicans are optimistic they'll close in on that magic majority of 218 House seats, while the path to victory in the Senate is still deadlocked, the state of Georgia keeping America guessing.
The fight for control of the Senate could all come down to a December 6th runoff election.
Still, from my personal standpoint, Donald Trump has declared the election was a very big victory. Despite 14 of his hand-picked candidates losing their bids for office, sparking reports of fury inside Mar-a-Lago, Melania Trump wearing the blame, it's believed, for getting her husband to support shunned celebrity Dr. Oz.
Endorsements don't matter. People are smart enough. They're going to go out and look at each issue, each candidate.
And they liked Ron DeSantis, the Florida governor's thumping victory, raising the question, do Republicans have a new champion?
Are we headed for a battle royale between the Florida governor and Donald Trump?
The elections cast questions about Trump's brand of conservative politics and put the spotlight on his planned announcement next week. Clearly buoyed by the results, Joe Biden says he's ready to run again, preparing to govern and campaign into his 80s. In Washington, D.C., Ashley Mullaney, 7 News.
A fast-thinking Melbourne mum has lashed out at councils after her toddler's dangerous close call with a deadly snake. She's demanding authorities deal with the overgrown grass epidemic after she was forced to leap into action to rescue her daughter.
Lightning-quick reflexes saved 2.5-year-old Eva.
It was a moment of just run, grab her and run.
Mum Daniela Vicini says instinct took over as one of the world's deadliest snakes approached the wading pool.
So it was up, sort of, I could see it, its face was up.
But if we weren't out there, she was just playing in the backyard and God forbid she stepped on it and
something happened.
Went for it.
The young family is concerned about the long grass on surrounding public land. It's been cut at playgrounds in the area, but not all parklands or near a Thomastown kindergarten.
Is high, it's 1 metre high, and it needs to be fixed. You know, we pay our rates, so, you know, make our community safe.
Whittlesea Council says fast-growing grass is a challenge right across Melbourne. The sodden ground has made it difficult to get machinery into some areas, but we are getting crews on the ground wherever we can. A snake catcher told the family it was most likely a brown snake, and from its behaviour in the video, it looked as though it was preparing to strike. Snake catcher Stuart Gatt says snakes are becoming more active during breeding season. He had 26 call-outs across metropolitan suburbs yesterday.
Snakes have pretty bad eyesight, so they react to movement. So the little girl splashing around in the pool would have been why the snake actually did its defence mechanism where it came up, similar to like a cobra.
Eva is recovering well from her big fright.
And what happened? Did you run?
Yeah. And who saved you?
Who saved you?
Mummy. Emma O'Sullivan, 7 News.
An AFL cult hero is making a surprise comeback. Tim Watson defenders everywhere should be on notice.
Indeed they should, Mitch. Anthony McDonald-Tipungwuti is coming out of retirement. Mitch Cleary broke the news today, and Mitch, a popular bomber, is back.
Well, Tim, just 6 months after calling it quits, the much-loved star is back. McDonald-Tipungwuti telling Essendon he's since regained the desire to play again. He appeared destined to head west after meeting Fremantle, but it was Brad Scott who led the charge for his stunning backflip. The new coach desperate for the 29-year-old's X-factor in the Bombers' forward line. Tim?
Thanks, Mitch. Coming up shortly, a pair of footy superstars swap their Brownlows for a basketball. Tom Mitchell explains one last awkward stop at the Hawks on his way to the Pies, and Victoria's cricketers have sunk to a 95-year low. Mitch, more on that soon.
OK, we'll see you then. Thank you, Tim. There's a new supply problem looming. This time it's a shortage of potatoes. The details are next on 7 News. Also coming up, the Reserve Bank admits it was caught out on interest rates. King Charles targeted by a lone egg-hurling protester. Later, how former frontline detectives are helping victims track down stolen property.
And storms do return to the Melbourne area late tonight, ahead of a cool and showery Friday. Full details later in 7 News.
Extreme weather is wreaking havoc with Australia's potato crops. We're likely to see a flow-on effect in coming months, with possible shortages and even a potential price hike for hot chips.
We'll see people, consumers and restaurants and things like that competing with each other for chips. So potentially it will increase for consumers.
Victorian farmers say the wet ground has stopped them from getting crops planted in time to meet demand. 7 young men who vandalised a mosque after a 16-hour drinking binge have escaped conviction. The group later apologised and will have to donate money to the Islamic community.
Caught on CCTV defacing a mosque, today 7 Melbourne teens no longer wanted to appear on camera.
Are you sorry for what happened, Mr. Deshan?
The young men, all aged 18 and 19, were each charged with trespass after a 16-hour footy bender ended with them breaking into a Langwarrin mosque. The men rode bikes through a sacred prayer area and watched as a friend pushed a ladder through a glass window. They returned the next day to apologise to the imam after footage of their antics was aired on 7 News. Is there anything you'd like to say? In court today, supported by family members, the group's lawyers insisted they were sorry, but said they'd been in the wrong place at the wrong time. It was not racially or religiously motivated. It was born out of stupidity, youth and intoxication. The young men avoided a criminal conviction, but they will have to repent for their actions. The court ordered they each donate $500 to the mosque and write a letter of apology to the victims. The magistrate warning them against excessive drinking and dangerous group mentality that could see them land in court again. Jodie Lee, 7 News.
2 children remain in hospital after being hit by a car at a caravan park. It happened at Mulwala on the New South Wales border. Police have spoken to the 70-year-old female driver, but she hasn't been charged. A 12-year-old boy and a 13-year-old girl were airlifted to the Royal Children's Hospital and are both in a serious but stable condition. The Reserve Bank has defended its decision to inflict 7 consecutive interest rate rises on mortgage holders. The Deputy Governor admits the bank was caught off guard by how high inflation rose.
The Reserve Bank has one main job: to keep tabs on inflation, yet admits
we were caught by surprise.
And Deputy Governor Michelle Bullock told a Senate committee today so were central banks around the world when inflation spiked this year.
Under the circumstances, we had no choice but to start raising interest rates.
That has caused much financial pain, particularly to those who had the least.
Of the people that have mortgages, I think we would accept that those on lower incomes are more impacted.
And now can't say when that cycle of 7 consecutive interest rate rises so far will end, or when what it calls the inflation scourge will be tamed.
We think interest rates probably still have to go up a little bit further, but we're not set on our timing and we're not set on the amount.
Raising the possibility of yet another interest rate rise next month. The government's celebrating its industrial reforms getting through the House of Representatives today, but does know that was the easy part. The real battle now begins in the Senate.
A decision for pay equity, a decision for job security, a decision to get wages moving.
The government needs either ACT Senator David Pocock or Tasmanian Jackie Lambie to get the numbers in the Senate to make the reforms law. Business says concessions already made by the government won't prevent more strikes and job losses.
This legislation is not fit to pass. We don't want an outcome that will end up destroying jobs.
The bill will face that final showdown in the Senate in 2 weeks. Mark Riley, 7 News.
King Charles and Queen Consort Camilla have been pelted with eggs during a visit to the English city of York. Crowds booed the protester as security tackled him to the ground. The King was ushered away before police arrested a 23-year-old man. Melbourne drivers are facing pothole roulette on the roads, leaving them with big bills. Next, compensation rights explained. Also coming up, quick thinking to save a home in the northern suburbs as a car erupts. Russia suffers a new battlefield blow in Ukraine, and Victoria's surprise Christmas spend-up. Quick-thinking residents in Wallen have saved a family home after a car burst into flames in the garage. With time running out, neighbours used another car and a tow rope to drag the burning vehicle clear of the house. The ute was a write-off, but the house was not damaged. Firefighters say the blaze was not suspicious. Thousands of Victorian potholes created by the floods are still to be repaired, with Melbourne's southeast one of the biggest danger zones. Farmers warn some flood-damaged roads are so bad there could be food shortages over coming months.
Drivers are faced with a dangerous game of pothole roulette.
It's horrible. They need fixing, please.
It's a battered and bumpy ride through a major Pakenham intersection.
I saw about 8 cars on the side of the road with busted rims and tyres.
In recent weeks, the local tyre store has had customers cursing through its doors every hour, needing costly repairs.
Anywhere between $500 up to $1,500.
Motorists who suffer a blowout from poor infrastructure can only claim through Vic Roads or their local council for damages above $1,400.
I'm not going to say it's not good for business, but it is very emotional for people, and it's hard to sometimes deal with them when they come in.
The Pakenham region has had its highest October rainfall in over 70 years, and that has had a significant impact on that local road network.
Farmers are crying out for urgent road assistance too.
The average car, it's actually quite a dangerous proposition for them to hit those holes, and at times they've got no choice.
The Victorian Transport Association warns regional towns along the Murray will struggle to get their harvests out to major ports, leading to supply shortages and pushing prices up right before Christmas.
The products that we get that need to be from the country, that need to then be processed and packaged and provided to us, won't be available in the same volume.
438 roads remain closed across the state, with an estimated repair bill of up to $1 billion. The Department of Transport says it's repaired almost 70,000 potholes since last month's floods, but the patch-ups are just a short-term fix. Jade Vincent, 7 News.
Overseas, Russian troops have been ordered to pull out of the Ukrainian city of Kherson, the only regional capital Moscow has seized since the war began. Vladimir Putin announced Russia's annexation of Kherson in September. Now forces on the ground say they can no longer keep the city supplied. It marks a major blow to Russia's offensive. And the company that owns social media giants Facebook, WhatsApp and Instagram is laying off 11,000 staff. Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg announced the news in a letter to employees, blaming the economic downturn and an increased competition. Mr. Zuckerberg concedes he made mistakes overestimating revenue and called this the most difficult change he's made in the company's history. David Jones has launched its countdown to Christmas, with Victorians on track to break spending records this festive season. Retail experts say huge bargains are already available weeks out from the big day.
Merry Christmas! Welcome to David Jones!
Christmas is just 45 days away. The department store today launched its 184th annual Christmas campaign.
Well, it's all about the experience here at David Jones. We've got some memorable moments happening. It's a world of wonder in store.
And now is the time to grab a gifting bargain. November, the hottest time for Christmas sales.
We're seeing an increasing trend for people shopping earlier, and retailers are definitely encouraging that.
Prices are set to be slashed by an average of 22% when Black Friday sales kick off on November 25. 60% of purchases will be done on a mobile phone, while bricks and mortar stores are on a hiring spree.
We've worked towards almost 1,500 extra seasonal team members to come in and join stores so that we can really enhance that service experience.
And Victorians are proving more generous than ever. The rising cost of living isn't expected to impact Christmas spending. Victorians are tipped to splurge a record $16.5 billion between now and December 25.
Inflation is very real. We know that Australians are feeling the pressure. There will probably be a lag effect to that, and we're likely to see that really start to hit retail next year.
Sonia Marinelli, 7 News.
Parts of Victoria are being swamped by mosquitoes, and we're going to be stuck with them for months. We'll explain why next on 7 News. Also a breakthrough on a senseless attack. 40 vehicles hit across inner northern suburbs. A Hollywood superstar spotted on the run in Australia. And later, how veteran detectives are helping victims of crime reclaim precious possessions. Police have laid charges over the slashing of dozens of car tyres in Melbourne's inner north. At least 40 drivers in Essendon, Moonee Ponds and Brunswick West had their tyres damaged in September. A 32-year-old local man has faced court on 45 criminal damage charges. The return of office workers to Melbourne CBD continues to lag behind the rest of Australia's capital cities. The Property Council says just 45% of workers are back in the office, compared to 58% in Sydney. On busy days, offices are 60% full, but that drops to 32% on quieter days of the week. Victoria is in the middle of a mozzie boom, with warm, wet weather creating perfect conditions for them. And thanks to La Nina, there won't be a reprieve anytime soon.
Just the sight of a mosquito can be enough to make you itch. Thanks to the recent muggy conditions, we're scratching more than ever, and experts say it's about to get worse.
I'm thinking that we're going to have even more mosquitoes as the summer unfolds.
As long as it stays wet, particularly this intermittent rain, and as long as it stays warm, you're going to have a problem. It's just going to cycle through again and again and again.
Victoria is in the midst of a mosquito explosion. La Nina, floods and the heat have created the ideal conditions for mozzies to thrive.
Mosquitoes are more active, they're reproducing more, laying more eggs, and this is what we end up with.
Some people are far more likely to be bitten than others. Ultimately, it all boils down to how your DNA makes you smell. More than just a nuisance, mosquitoes are the deadliest animal on the planet, killing around 1 million people each year. But not here, because our mosquitoes don't carry malaria. They aren't going away anytime soon.
In order to see mosquitoes start to die off and start to disappear, we do need a prolonged period of dry weather.
But there are steps you can take to protect yourself.
Any rubbish in your backyard, try and clear up now. That's the key. You want to make sure that it's not a magnet for mosquitoes and to keep it as clean as possible.
Rochelle Brown, 7 News.
A 3-year-old boy has had a heartwarming encounter with Princess Kate. The Princess of Wales was on a visit to a children's centre in West London when she met young Akeem and gave him the pin she was wearing.
Yeah, it's very famous. Would you like mine? Yes. Yeah. You can have my pin. There you go.
Kate was wearing a poppy ahead of Remembrance Day tomorrow. Hollywood star Ryan Gosling was hard to miss while filming his new movie in Sydney last night. Dressed in bright yellow, the actor is making a silver screen reboot of the hit 80s show The Fall Guy. George Street in the centre of the harbour city was closed all night for filming. Sport is next with Tim Watson. And Tim, AFL lawyers were called in over a shock retirement backflip.
They were. Mitch will explain why a footy cult hero needed special approval to return to the Bombers, plus shooting for a flag, how Tom Mitchell plans to give Collingwood the midfield edge. The Blues favourite spreads his wings as a concussion controversy engulfs the AFLW finals. The bizarre backup plan revealed for a moment in cricket history, and how an early morning dog walk made way for a World Cup dream. Welcome back. The AFL's legal team was forced to act on a cult hero's shock comeback. Returning to Mitch Cleary, and Mitch, a star bomber, is returning, but it wasn't straightforward.
Well, Tim, the AFL sought General Counsel approval to revoke Anthony McDonald-Tipungwuti's retirement from May, giving him the green light for his remarkable return. He signed a 1-year deal, telling the club he is on top of life outside of footy. Elsewhere, Carlton legend Cade Simpson has joined Hawthorn as backline coach after receiving a surprise call from Sam Mitchell while holidaying in Bali. The AFL has confirmed Magic Round, all 18 teams to play a match in Adelaide over one weekend in April, giving every club an extra $500,000 and an extra match next season. Meantime, Tom Mitchell has traded the MCG for the basketball court to unveil a big signing of his own. He might be 4 weeks into life as a Magpie, but Tom Mitchell still had one job to tick off and make his Hawthorn exit official.
I had to clean up my locker the other day. It felt weird. I always thought I was going to be a Hawthorn player for the rest of my career.
As his Hawks midfield minutes evaporated, Mitchell's desire to move grew. The 29-year-old this time seeking his own trade to shoot for a flag.
They're on their own journey and planning for the future, and I guess I'm probably in the latter part of my career and would love to be a part of a premiership the team really soon, and I felt like Collingwood would be a perfect fit to try and do that.
He's intent on Collingwood and reuniting with former assistant Craig McRae, only growing stronger through the Pies' incredible finals run.
Watching them last year was in admiration because, the way they were able to fight out games, that's the sort of club you want to play for.
Mitchell and Patrick Cripps have partnered with NBA star Josh Giddey to take their Ball Magnets program to the next level before the pair of Brownlow medalists lock horns in football's biggest rivalry.
I know he's pumped to get there, so hopefully get two clashes this year. It's always good to play the big clubs twice. We're doing some stoppage craft together and pushing each other around. It started to get a bit competitive, so I thought this is what it's going to be like next year.
Mitch Cleary, 7 News.
A concussion controversy threatens to overshadow week 2 of the AFLW finals. Adelaide captain Chelsea Randall has no concussion symptoms, but league medicos have ruled her out of Saturday's semi-final against Collingwood after looking at more vision of a head knock in the loss to Melbourne.
It is frustrating and I'm disappointed around the system and the process in place. It means that some players who actually aren't concussed will miss games.
Randall missed last year's grand final due to concussion. Melbourne's big wet threatens to derail the T20 World Cup final. The ICC is holding firm on its original schedule, which could lead to a world first in the event of a washout.
Pakistan's heroes and their Aussie batting coach, Matt Hayden, mobbed in Melbourne this afternoon. And no surprise, given what we saw outside the SCG last night. Joyous supporters spilled out of the ground and into the streets. Even a late downpour didn't dampen the victory party. Back where they crushed the Aussies to open the tournament, it all went wrong for the Kiwis. Gone. Another caught and bowled. Chasing 153, Babar Azam and Mohammad Rizwan's 105-run opening stand set up a comfortable 7-wicket win.
And Pakistan are absolutely ecstatic in the dugout, and they have done it in style.
We are feeling like we are playing at home, and everyone is coming and cheer up in the Pakistan team.
Pakistan tasted World Cup glory at the MCG 30 years ago. Imran Khan's men beating out Beefy's Brits. Will history repeat on Sunday night? For those fans old enough to remember, and for even those that aren't, desperate to celebrate again. Pakistan's fiercest rival, India, takes on England in Adelaide tonight for the remaining spot in Sunday's decider at the MCG. Matt Shervington, 7 News.
Socceroo Jamie McLaren is hoping to take his strong A-League form into the World Cup. McLaren will be joined by Melbourne City teammate Matthew Leckie in Qatar after receiving the good news earlier this week.
It was a text message about 5:30 in the morning. I was walking my dog, funny enough, and it's like an amazing feeling.
McLaren and Leckie will head to Qatar after City's A-League clash against Newcastle on Saturday. The AFL-owned Marvel Stadium could come to Melbourne Storm's rescue next year, with Amy Park unavailable in July due to the Women's World Cup. Storm kicks off their 2023 NRL campaign on a Thursday night against Parramatta. Cross rivalry there, just put to one side, Mitch, just helping them out.
Yes, indeed. It's going to be a big event, the World Cup, isn't it?
It's going to be absolutely massive and great for Tippy to be back at Essendon too. Yeah. A lot of fans very happy about that.
A lot of Bomber fans will be happy indeed. It'll help membership too.
Yeah,
Thank you very much indeed, Tim. We're being warned to expect more burglaries and thefts as we approach the festive season. If the worst does happen, though, there's an innovative team of Melbourne's super sleuths ready to help.
Caught on camera. Thieves wrench off an entire car window to steal a handbag. A tradie's livelihood is towed away. A garage door wrecked. A luxury car stolen.
The thieves were very opportunistic. It was only there for about 10 minutes.
Bike fanatic Harrison Roach had his pride and joy pinched. When his replacement bike was also taken, his mum called in the experts.
This time of year leading into Christmas, there is an increase in theft.
Retired detective Murray Chapman is putting his investigative skills to work for the community. Property Vault is a free, secure site helping reunite victims of crime with their stolen belongings.
It's really a huge national database of stolen property, and it's also seen as a tool to help the police recover stolen items and identify thieves and arrest them.
The national database allowing owners to register their valuables and upload pictures of their stolen goods.
Over $2.5 million in stolen property has been recovered.
An eagle-eyed pawn shop owner cross-referenced Harrison Roach's bike, returning it to its grateful owner. With a house robbed every 20 minutes, Victorians are being warned to take extra care with valuables over the festive season. Jackie Quist, 7 News.
Jane Bunn is next with the forecast. And Jane, is there a storm on the way?
Mitch, we do have the risk of a big storm later on this evening. It could be a rough night ahead. The full details are next.
Hello, tonight on the latest from 7 News, the PM about to go abroad chasing a one-on-one with the Chinese president. Can they patch things up? A tight squeeze inside the World Cup fan village, cramped, noisy and costly, and Daniel Craig's new post-Bond role trying to shake his old character. When it breaks, we'll have it live. The latest at 10:55.
Victoria's ultimate getaway, your very own private island, and it's yours if you've got the money. Your exclusive tour on 7 News at 6.
Hello again. We'll have a break in the rain early this evening, but rain and big storms are likely to redevelop later tonight. In northerly winds, it was very warm last night, a low of 20. Then we reached 26 at lunchtime, and the afternoon turned wet as the wind eased. It's now 21, cool but humid. A band of showers turning to steady rain across the Melbourne area this afternoon. There were no storms in this part, but later tonight that changes. Before the rain arrived, Moorabbin reached 29, a few eastern suburbs 27. The last of the rain is clearing over the east over the next hour. It is producing generally 2 to 6 millimetres. There are 2 bands of showers tending to rain with embedded thunderstorms. The storms died out from the first band, but they're certainly ramped up with the second one. The storms in the far west of the state, those in the yellow area, can produce damaging winds, large hail and heavy rain leading to flash flooding. Now that band of storms is slowly moving eastwards. It arrives in Melbourne later tonight. The wet weather is organised in bands today as the trough bringing them is on the move. That trough crosses Victoria overnight into tomorrow. Then there's only a short break before the next low approaches. So the current trough brings rain and storms today into Friday. The next low brings rain and storms later Saturday through Sunday and into Monday. Now this brings widespread totals of 10 to 20 millimetres. The ranges 20 to 50, local falls up to 100. So all these parts of Victoria are back on flood watch for renewed river flooding in the days ahead. Then early next week we'll be plunged into another cold outbreak, more alpine snow, wintry hail and cold winds for the rest. I hope you made the most of the warmth while we had it. Around the nation tomorrow, a dry day in Sydney, then late showers and storms in the west. Showers and storms for Canberra and Hobart. Adelaide gradually turning sunny. Sunny in Brisbane, mild but dry in Perth. To Victoria, by dawn, the rain and storms have cleared the west, patchy morning fog there. Rain and heavy severe storms gradually contracting eastwards during the day, showers to follow near the coast. So closer in, it is dry for the next few hours, but rain is likely late this evening and pre-dawn tomorrow, with the risk of heavy storms and damaging winds. Now what's in Western Victoria arrives here later tonight. Then tomorrow, just showers passing through, mainly in the morning and afternoon, dry by the evening. Outer northern suburbs do have the risk of an afternoon thunderstorm, though they're popping up on the ranges. So the potential for big storms overnight. Tomorrow, showers passing through, a cooler top of 20. On the 8-day outlook, Saturday dry all through the day, the risk of storms at night. Storms are likely on Sunday too, some big falls in there. It turns cold early next week. Tuesday, just 15, lots of showers passing through, then it slowly recovers. So for tomorrow, cooler 20, we've got showers passing through, but we could be in for a big storm now that is most likely to start around midnight tonight, Mitch.
OK, and we've also got to watch out for snakes, mosquitoes and potholes.
We have the whole thing here in Victoria this summer. We're not even there yet.
What a list. Thank you, Jane. Now here's what's on Sunrise tomorrow.
Thanks, Mitch. Tomorrow morning, the Sunrise Cash Grab, where you get to keep what you catch.
Plus, our exclusive concert series begins in the spectacular regions of Victoria with Aussie superstars, the Veronicas. See you in the morning, Melbourne.
And that's the way it is this Thursday, the 10th of November. Thanks for your company. For now, from the 7 News team, good night.